What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here bringing another video. So, I know that I did this a while ago, like a few weeks ago, which was the Super Sentai Problems videos that I did. I did 2 of those. There's a third one that I was thinking of doing. It's been a little while, I know, but I definitely want to get back into it a little bit, and this is for Toqger. So, we did Ghost Ager, which was one that is in between. Like, I don't dislike it, but I don't love it. It's that right in between position. Go Busters, though, completely, like most people agree on, like was not the best season. The third one here is going to be Ressha Sentai Toqger. So, though it's not a season that I particularly say that it was the worst, because it's not. It's not the worst season ever. It's actually decent. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. It was a season that had a lot of mixed stories. Some of it was good, some of it was not. There was the whole entire transformation aspect that was okay, like the whole entire idea of like them being able to change colors while still representing their look and all that. The individual rangers seemed, I mean, the Sentai members were okay, very similar to the Ghost Ager members in regards to how naive they were, although these guys were somewhere in between. Like they weren't too naive, but they weren't beyond the beyond, like they weren't oblivious, but they weren't the sharpest characters ever, and some of them were okay, some of them were mixed, and some of them felt like they could have been better casts, and some of them could have been better members. Personally, I felt that a lot. I liked the whole entire training aspect. I think that actually was a cool thing. Early on, the show definitely felt like a cooler show. I actually kind of enjoyed it a lot, and the story was pretty clear, pretty well done, and it was okay. I mean, the one thing that always creates an issue, especially in America, which is why it's less than likely to get an American adaptation, is the aspect of, is it relatable to the times? And the thing is that it's trains. Trains aren't a bad thing. Kids, sometimes are okay with them, but in America, you're typically not seeing many trains. You're seeing a lot of cars, you're seeing a lot of planes, you're seeing a lot of trucks, you're seeing a lot of other things. You're not seeing many trains. Trains are typically not one of the things that you're looking at often. Kids aren't as fascinated as they once were in trains. While in Japan, there's actually a big emphasis on transportation through trains, and trains are actually a very common way of travel as compared to America, where, I mean, if you're in New York, sure, but if you're in like an area where it's more urban rather than where it's more urban and it's not like a city-like area, you're typically not going to see necessarily as many trains, and if you are, it's not going to be a kid's like, oh, I love it necessarily, especially if they're older. Like, when you're a little kid, you might like Thomas the Tank Engine, but that's about it probably. Once you get a little older, you're probably not, I mean, sometimes you might like it, but it's not something that you're going to be on top of, which is why it's probably less likely. That's an issue that's just in general is hard, just because that creates an issue for America in regard to the fact that it's less than likely that they'll show it, just because it's not relevant, and it's probably not going to do as well because people don't really think that much of trains, because of the fact that trains aren't that exciting. Like, kids aren't necessarily all that like, wow, trains, I gotta love me some trains. Like, the reason why Dino Charge works really well is because dinosaurs are timeless, they work well. It's always been a great aspect. Kids love dinosaurs. Dinosaurs work in the 90s, dinosaurs work in the 80s. I mean, dinosaurs still work to this day. Like, if you put out a dinosaur toy, it works. Hey, Jurassic World came out recently, that did well. Hey, that's helping. That's not hurting Power Rangers Dino Charge at all. In fact, in some ways, it's actually encouraging that aspect, because then you want to watch more dinosaur-related shows, and then you find out, hey, Dino Charge is out. Maybe I could watch that. Maybe that could be my new show. And you never know. And that's something that definitely is taken into consideration, because people are always interested in that kind of stuff. And you know what? That's why I feel like ninjas are going to be great, which is why Shuriken Sentai Ninja will be a show that will probably be jumped directly to after the whole entire Dino Charge line will be done. And that's actually smart. I think that that's a good leap. I think that we'll be at a good point, and I think that that's just really smart, and it's a good, and it's been a great season so far. I like every episode that they've done so far. I like the characters. The Gold Ranger. One of the things that I love Star Ranger for Shogun Sentai, but if you compare that to Tokyo Rokiko, I didn't really care for him. I found him like at first I thought he was kind of cool, but at the same time, like I mean, sure he has that mix between like going from villain to good guy, which is kind of different because usually it's good guy to villain. In this case, it's kind of different. I actually kind of like it a little bit more. The whole entire idea of him like wanting to kill himself all the time, that just kind of bothered me, and you know he kind of added that downer aspect to him. So you know it wasn't the worst at times, but sometimes it just felt a bit ridiculous. And the ways that he killed himself weren't even that funny. Like there weren't anything that interesting. Like if he did some really like over the top things, that would have been cool. Most of the time, it was kind of stupid things, and the way that he talked kind of like was kind of dull and dark and not that exciting. So really, I didn't really love it. Like if they made him out like he wanted to die, but they actually kind of made it kind of funny at the same time and maybe over exaggerated it, I think that would have been a lot better for his character. I know that you may think death is not a nice thing, but at the same time, it's like doing something to make it a little bit more interesting rather than him just being like, I want to kill myself. Like I mean, he didn't say that straight up, but like it's implied that he wanted to kill himself. I mean, that's not necessarily the warmest character ever to really have in a show. And just in general, I didn't really care for the designs of him. I didn't really care for all their designs, really. I thought that they were very plain, not that exciting, and kind of boring. So I would not be particularly interested in an American version of that show. I mean, if they show it, I'll watch it regardless, just because. But it's not that exciting. It wasn't that exciting. Like that's why personally I was curious about Go Buster. Toqger, if they do an American version of it, I feel like it's gonna be pretty bad. I really do. I'm very serious about that, and it bothers me because I would like it to be a show that could have been better. But I mean, I'm actually a lot more of a supporter of it than, like, say, Go Busters, and I think a lot of people sometimes are. Some people are mixed on it, and the feedback that I typically heard about was not the best. And I watched the whole show. I did. As much as I was mixed on it at times towards the end, which the end was meh. I did watch it, and a lot of the things that I predicted as I watched did happen, which was interesting to see with certain characters. So, you know, that's something to definitely take into consideration, that it had a plot that was pretty reasonable. You know, I actually liked the plot in some cases, but at the same time I felt that the whole entire rainbow aspect of it was a little bit too sweet, a little bit too kind, and then certain things were a little bit too exaggerated, like too overdone, and certain things were too underdone, which created this imbalance, which kind of bothered me because it didn't feel very like clear and specific. Like if they made it, I mean, they don't have to make it completely clear and specific, but they make it enough to the point that you have enough to go on. You look at it, you say, oh, I get enough of this. It's not too underwhelming, but it's just a good balance, and it feels just about right. I can appreciate that. I can go off of that. I can say, you know what, this is worth it. This is a good show, and I can enjoy it. But this was somewhere in between, and I think that this was one that they kind of had to work a little bit harder on, and they tried different things. The movies were okay. Certain things definitely were better than others. Their special with Toqger going up against the Ghostbusters was Akira Oger. It was okay, you know. Trying to have different Reshas that represent different seasons, that's not a bad idea at all. You know, they typically do that for a lot of different things. For example, with like with Ninja, they have like shuriken discs that have like you know, what would it be? What was it? It was Kaku Red and Hurricane Red. They had 2 discs for them, and they had the themes playing if you use the disc, which is great. Like they would have like the Kaku Ranger theme and the Hurricane theme if you use the disc. Cool stuff. I really liked all that. I liked the sound effects. I liked a lot of different things. They did that disc. They did those 2 discs really well. I like the disc aspect, but I feel like Toqger was not something that they did as well. I think the transformation aspect was okay, not the best, but I don't really have much else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this video was, not too long, but it was a reasonable length. Anyway, guys, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys in whatever video I make next time. So anyway, guys, goodbye.